This is a sports catastrophe production. Don't know. Hey there, how there, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to another sports catastrophe on this day. And on this day, April 20th, 1988. Remember, I know 420 is different. They have the culture about weed smoking and Hitler's birthday and Columbine, but this is a sports list. So anyway, on this day, April 20th, 1988, the Baltimore Orioles became the first team in history to start out at a terrible mark. Very terrible mark. They were the first team to start out 0-14 in the majors. Something like that. But anyway, April 20th was not a good time to be an Orioles guy. They had the worst start to a season in modern baseball history. They ended up last in the AL East, reduced to a record of 54 wins and 107 losses. They started at 0-21 from April 4th to April 28th, which was like unbelievable. I mean, like, honestly, started out that badly. Cal Ripken Sr., the father of Cal Ripken Jr., was fired after an 0-6 start and replaced by Frank Robinson. The Orioles would not win their first game till April 29th against the White Sox at Comiskey Park. And this was only the second time the Orioles lost 100 games as a member of the Baltimore Orioles. The other time was their inaugural season in 1954. So it took about 35 years to lose 100 games. In fact, 107 losses would not be surpassed till 2018 when they lost 115. So basically, 2018-19 were not great years to be Oriole fans as they only won a combined 101 games. Ooh. In the offseason, the Orioles made a couple big blunders. They traded Ray Knight to Detroit for Mark Furman, and they traded away Mike Young from Baltimore to Philly for Rick Shue, Keith Hughes, and Jeff Stone. It's weird how Baltimore got rid of Ray Knight a season after they went all in to pick him up from the Mets. The Orioles on opening day, April 4th, ended up losing 12-0 to the Milwaukee Brewers. It was the largest margin of victory in a shutout win on opening day. In their 13th game, they tied the 1904 Washington Senators and the 1920 Detroit Tigers for most losses to start the season with 13 straight, after being Brothers 9-5 in Milwaukee. And of course, they would go on to lose the 14th, which set a major league record. Still to this day, Baltimore started at 0-14 as the Brewers went 8-6, which was amazing, at Milwaukee's County Stadium. And the Orioles basically lost to the Twins, being 0-21 and all that, before beating the White Sox. As I said, Baltimore would win 54 games. They would actually be 23.5 games behind the next lowest team in the AL East. That was Cleveland, who were only 6 games below 500. As 5 AL East teams went above 500. Boston had 89 wins, Detroit 88, Milwaukee 87, Toronto 87, Yankees 85. Toronto wasn't even that far. Man, it was a dogfight in the AL East in 1988. So anyway, when you look at the 1988 Baltimore roster, there was a lot of things that happened. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention about the 1988 Baltimore Orioles. Curt Schilling made his major league debut. My buddy Bill Lang's favorite pitcher. Schilling made his debut as an Oriole, pitching against the Boston Red Sox and pitched in 7 innings. He would strike out only 2, but walked 5. So anyway, so Schilling made his debut. So basically, Baltimore did pick up Mickey Tettleton as a free agent, who basically was a home run hitting catcher for the Detroit Tigers, I think. No, sorry. Some kind of free agent. But anyway, what was even more shocking about the 1988 Baltimore Orioles was that Pete Rose Jr. was drafted by the Orioles, and he signed in 1988. But Pete Rose Jr. would not be in the major leagues until 1997 for his Cincinnati Reds. his father's team, the Reds. And Baltimore would later trade Mike Boddicker from Baltimore to Boston for Brady Anderson and Curt Schilling. So Curt Schilling was a Boston farmhand before he was a Baltimore, and then, Philadelphia Philly and a Arizona Diamondback. Yeah, we all know Schilling won the World Series with Boston, but people forget that Curt Schilling was a minor leaguer with the Red Sox. Baltimore has opening day starters were Mike Boddicker pitching. Then they had Terry Kennedy, Fred Lynn, Eddie Murray, Joe Orsulak, Billy Ripken, Cal Ripken Jr., Rick Shue, Larry Sheets, and Jeff Stone. It's amazing because Baltimore, with this lineup, I mean, you got to look. Boddicker was a good starting pitcher when he needed to. Fred Lynn was in the twilight of his career after Boston got rid of him. Eddie Murray was an icon and stayed an icon for a decade after that. Cal Ripken Jr., as we all know how good he was, and a few other people. But yeah, this team really sucked and all that. They wasted good times. Eddie Murray was one of the best hitters. He led the team in average home runs and RBIs. 284 batting average, 28 home runs, 84 RBIs. So when you look at other members of the 88 Baltimore Orioles, you see Pete Harnsich, Scott McGregor. Scott McGregor was still around, even though he pitched for the 83 Orioles. Wow, that's amazing. Mike Morgan, he was 10, 11 teams in his major league career. I know he was a Blue Jay for a little bit. Tom Niederfuhr, who was once the Dodgers closer, but went better. Greg Olson, who basically pitched a few games for the 88 Orioles. I remember he was the 89 AL Rookie of the Year, so basically Baltimore had their closer. Curt Schilling, wearing number 43, which is weird. Dave Schmidt, who would later become an Expo. Doug Sisk, who was a former Met. And Mark Williamson, who was a decent pitcher for Baltimore in 1989. Behind the plate, you got Terry Kennedy and Mickey Tettleton. The infielders, Eddie Murray, Billy Ripken, Cal Ripken Jr., Rick Shue, Craig Worthington. And in the outfield, Brady Anderson wearing number 16 on his normal number 9. Jim Dwyer, Tito Landrum was still around. Fred Lynn, Joe Orsulak, Larry Sheets, Jeff Stone. Yeah, it was amazing to see. And all that. Like, they weren't that bad. They were decent, but the pitching just sucked. Bob Milacki was the only starting pitcher to be above 500, 2-0 in his career. Schilling would be 0-3 in his first major league season, which was amazing. I was like, what the heck? Todd Niederfuhr had 18 saves for the Orioles. So when we look at Baltimore in 1988, it was pathetic. There was once a disc jockey who basically decided he would be on the air until the Orioles won, and that was like 10 games worth. And how did he do it? Anyway, Baltimore surprised a lot of people by being 7-5 against the Seattle Mariners, which is pretty good, and 6-6 against Texas. So basically, they were just putrid, especially against Kansas City, losing 12 games. So what the heck? But this was a silver lining, as the 1989 Baltimore Orioles would actually make a run for the AL East title, losing out in the end on the final weekend to my beloved Toronto Blue Jays. But Baltimore did pretty good. They bounced back in a fascinating way, and you can't blame them, or can you? Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.